So, hello, welcome back to the next episode of the Self-Development with Tactics podcast. And it's the wrong beginning, I just seen. Let's see you after the intro. Let's actually see you after the intro. So yeah, today's episode is gonna be about the Diderot effect, or Diderot, or Diderot, or Diderot. I don't know what it is pronounced or how it is actually pronounced, but it is a pretty interesting effect, and it's probably one of the effects that you probably have seen and or even have experienced as well. Therefore, it is really interesting. The Diderot effect from Mr. Diderot. It is actually from Mr. Diderot, you know? It's like, I don't know what it is like in your just mother tongue, but in German it is like, what did I actually want to say? In German, it is actually like when you're saying things like, yeah, you know, this is broccoli, then it has to be from Mr. Broccoli. You know, at least it is like in my family this way. You know, it is just a jokey way to say like, okay, it is from Mr. Diderot, or it is from Mr. Clear, or it is from Mr. Broccoli, whatever it is. Like, it is a jokey way to be like, okay, to be like smart maybe. I don't fucking know. Like, it is just clearly a joke and whatsoever, but it's pretty funny, you know. Would be interesting if it is actually the case in other languages as well, because I don't know. But yeah, we are going ahead or starting with the Diderot effect on the jamesclear.com website once again, you know, because he has so insanely good articles, as I'm just talking about them every single time when I'm starting with a new one or I'm going ahead with one. Like, there has to be me just appreciating the work that James Clear is putting out there once in every single episode that I'm just actually going through an article by him. But yeah. And the screen is already there. Everything is amazing today. And I'm pumped. You know, I'm amazingly pumped and happy to sit here, talk to you, and hopefully produce a good episode and produce an really entertaining, informative, valuable episode for you that you're just really looking forward to going through, really going for to consume. But yeah. So I've actually gone through the whole thing, but I don't know what I'm going to read there, and I don't know what I'm going to talk about there. Well, I think let's actually go through the story. You know, I'm gonna read the story because the story is pretty nice and pretty interesting. So the Diderot effect, why we want things we don't need and what to do about it. So in the end, there's actually a solution for it, and I'm hopefully going to cover the whole article in this single episode, so there's not going to be any delay in really informative and important information. So the famous French philosopher Denis Diderot, I think it is actually Diderot then, because it is French, lived nearly his entire life in poverty, but that all changed in 1765. Diderot was 52 years old, and his daughter was about to be married, but he could not afford to provide a dowry. Despite his lack of wealth, Diderot's name was well known because he was the co-founder and writer of Encyclopédie, or Encyclopédie, don't know, one of the most comprehensive encyclopedias of this time. So when Catherine the Great, the Empress of Russia, heard of Diderot's financial troubles, she offered to buy his library from him for 1,000 pounds. So grand British pounds. I assume it is GBP. Like, yeah, and it's pounds, so it probably is. Which is approximately $50,000 in 2015 dollars. Like in 2015. And nowadays it's probably going to be a little bit more, I assume, I guess. Isn't it always just getting more? Or is it just depends on like what the dollar is worth and what, yeah? I don't know. So suddenly Diderot had money to spare. And I guess like the 1,000 pounds have been just a pretty decent amount of money back in the days. I don't know. I don't know how it is actually compared to the 50k today. You know, yeah, I'm really not quite sure if it is comparable to the 50k today, or if you can actually pay or buy things with that 1,000 pounds as well as or as good as with the 50k today, then it is quite some money, you know. Still, it is not such a lot. It is a lot. Probably it's going to solve a lot of problems that a lot of people have that do not have as much money as they need or want. But yeah, I know you might be able to buy a new car in cash. You might be able to, I don't know, pay the rent for a few years or a few months actually. Maybe a year. Maybe a year should do the thing. But yeah, like it's really not such a lot of money. Like it's exactly the same thing with a million. Like a million is a decent amount of money. Please don't get me wrong there. It is just really decent. But in my point of view, it is really not such a lot. Like it is a lot, and it is like decent, but it's not like a huge amount of money. Like I don't know. A lot of people think about the millions and making $1 million and €1 million or whatever it is, as it being something that is that is going to solve every problem for their life. First of all, it is not. No matter how much money you're making, it's probably not gonna save every single problem that you're having. Probably. I don't know. I'm not having a lot of money. So I don't know. I couldn't judge. I couldn't say. But the thing is, also $1 million isn't that much. If you're investing it, with great thought, with a lot of thinking, then yeah, maybe in 10 years, maybe in 15 years, maybe in just more years, it's gonna be way more. Probably 10 million or something. And 10 million on the other hand is like, yeah, it is a decent life, I assume. But I don't know. Like, I've been hearing Gary Vee also talking about that issue, quote unquote, or about the thing that people actually talk about millions and think about the $1 million as it being just something so, well, I do not want to say amazing, because amazing, it for sure is amazing, but it's not like problem solving, I guess. Actually, I think it is a pretty good thought like this, and it is really interesting because everybody actually thinks about the $1 million or whatever. So shortly after his lucky sale, Diderot acquired a new scarlet robe, and that's when everything went robe. So there it now starts with the Diderot effect itself, which basically says like, and now I'm gonna take it over, I guess, because now it is all about him buying a few things and buying quite a lot of things, and then about James Clear buying a lot of things. And it is pretty interesting, and you've probably seen it as well. It really is interesting. The thing is, Diderot bought himself a new robe. The robe, it is clothing. I was first of all thinking about robes, like, okay, or maybe it's just some tool that they have been using just back in the days. I didn't know, but I came to the conclusion that it's actually the robe, like the clothing, this like, I don't know, coat thing, like, you know what I mean. You know what a robe is. I didn't know what a robe is, but now we both know what a robe is. The thing is, he bought himself a new robe, and then he was in his library or in his house or wherever he was, and he was like, I have a new robe, and it is actually not pretty much fitting in. Like, all the other things look just really fucked up and shitty, and my robe is so new and so just pretty, and it is just amazing. And then he started to buy new things. So that the robe isn't just alone as such, or it isn't as outstanding maybe, because all the other shit is like pretty much shit, yeah? And his robe is so amazing, it is so beautiful, it is so new, it is so something, something and nothing. And so he started to buy a few things. He bought himself a mirror, he bought himself some tools, he bought himself quite a lot of things. The thing is, after that, he realized, wow, I actually just used a lot of my money, and the thing is, I didn't even need all the things, but I just bought these things because I've bought the robe. And then James Clear talks about the same exact issue that he had, I don't know, a while ago, or when he bought his car actually, because he bought himself a new car after having the other one for 10 years, as he explained afterwards, or a little bit afterward. And it was like, okay, he bought himself a new car, but, he bought himself also a few features, like an extra umbrella, as I'm reading just there, a first aid kit, a knife, a pocket knife, which I actually didn't know that you can buy a pocket knife just with your car. I really didn't know that. Really interesting, to be honest. A flashlight, emergency blankets, a seat belt, cutting tool, all those things. And then he realized, like, yeah, he didn't need it. He really didn't need all the stuff, and he never needed it, because in the car he had before, this 10-year-old, whatever it was, he didn't have these things as well. Like, they have been new, and he only bought them because he bought a new car, which is really interesting. And you probably know it yourself. Maybe not in these two scenarios, but he's also talking about a few more scenarios. And this is again something that I'm going to read. So yeah, you can spot similar behaviors in many other areas of life. You buy a new dress, and now you have to get shoes and earrings to match. You buy a CrossFit membership, and soon you're paying for foam rollers, knee sleeves, wrist wraps, and paleo meal plans. You buy your kid an American Girl doll, and you find yourself purchasing more accessories than you ever knew existed for dolls. And the last one, you buy a new couch, and suddenly you're questioning the layout of your entire living room. Those chairs, that coffee table, that rug, they all gotta go. And I think it is actually something that and I know it myself. Like, it's really tempting, once you bought something new, to also buy something additionally to that, because you bought something new, just because of the fact that you bought something new, which is like insane, to be honest. Like, it is like so unnecessary, And I've just been actually thinking about Amazon. Like, when I'm buying something off of Amazon, I'm actually trying to just not buy one thing because of delivery fees and whatever, because I have them. I'm not having Prime because it's not worth it, for me, because I'm not watching any videos. I'm not actually buying a lot of Amazon, and yeah, it would be just really unnecessary, So I actually choose to buy things not in bulk, but not only one thing, so that I somehow, if there is not a free shipping option, that I can somehow ditch the whole just shipping fees and whatever, because they are just like, yeah, they just mean something. Like, still, it's $5 like it is something, it is, I don't know, 2 days of eating for me, at least 2 just lunches for me when I'm in school, for example. It is definitely a lot for me. Like, $5 is totally something. It really is. It might be not so much for you, but it really is a lot for me. So life has a natural tendency to become filled with more. We are rarely looking to downgrade, to simplify, to eliminate, to reduce. Our natural inclination is always to accumulate, to add, to upgrade, and to build upon. In the words of sociology professor Juliet Shore, the pressure to upgrade your stock of stuff is relentlessly unidirectional, always ascending. Pretty interesting, and I thought so as well. Like, nobody wants to downgrade, nobody wants to step back a little bit, once you've, especially once you've bought a new car. Like, you've bought a new BMW, okay, and it is actually an example from this article as well. Okay, what's going to be the next thing? It's for sure not going to be the exact same BMW, I assume, even though it might have been a good car, it might have been a sufficient car, but I guess you might be looking for something bigger, for something maybe more expensive, for something maybe more luxurious, something new, something not the exact same, or maybe you have some different preferences. Maybe you're looking for, I don't know, something smaller. Then it is something different, because, like, yeah, if you're actually happy with your car like it was, you're probably not gonna downgrade, I assume. You might be repairing it for a bit, and you might be just not buying a new car immediately, but I guess you won't be stepping down. But it is something different, just because we bought a new car. So my parents bought a new car recently, and it was like, okay, our old car was pretty big, because we've been a pretty big family, and now just people moved out and whatever. So they decided to buy a new car, and the old one was also just shit. Like, it broke down nearly, and it just costed a lot to repair the failures and whatever. So in the end, a new car had to be there, and they bought a smaller car because the big car wouldn't make any sense. And of course, the smaller one is just not as expensive as the big one was. So yeah, I guess if you've just been really, really satisfied with the car you had and you're buying yourself a new one, it's probably going to be a better one. It's probably going to be a more expensive one. It's probably going to be a bigger one, something more luxurious. As I said, it's probably going to be more expensive. Mastering the Diderot effect. The Diderot effect tells us that your life is only going to have more things fighting to get in it. So you need to understand how to curate, eliminate, and focus on the things that matter. Yeah, so now he's actually talking about some ways how you can reduce this effect or how you can actually ditch the effect. And it's pretty important, a lot of these things are actually relatively obvious, as I think you could have been thinking about. But yeah, still it is, I think, as I always say, it is really important to also, or especially also, point out the really obvious things. Because the thing is, it might be obvious for me, but it doesn't have to mean that it is also obvious for you, It might be obvious for my brother, but it doesn't necessarily have to be obvious for me as well. We all individuals, and that's fine, and that's good. And this is how things should be, I guess. So yeah. Reduce exposure, which is the first one. Nearly every habit is initiated by a trigger or cue, which means, stop the cue before it actually occurs. Do not actually let the trigger be triggered. Stop it before anything happens, which means, I don't know, if the trigger is you buying something, stop buying things, and then you might be ditching this whole spiral of death and underworld shit and, something. You might be ditching this whole thing of, okay, I'm going to buy something and then something new and something new and something new and something new. Additionally to that, because I need some new keys and I thought of a new chair, whatever it is. You might be ditching that by just not buying anything new if you just don't need it. Or maybe just stepping it down, really stepping it down. So also he says, unsubscribe from commercial emails. Call the magazines that send you catalogs and opt out of their mailings. Meet friends at a park rather than the mall. This one has been just really incredible for me, just because it makes sense. When you're not in the mall, you're not being tempted to buy something. Whether it is a drink, whether it is something, no matter what it is, it's probably gonna save you some money. And block your favorite shopping websites using tools like Freedom. So it's like freedom written like freedom is written. You might be using them. But you could also just be using them for, I don't know, for restricting yourself from being on YouTube as much as you've been or as you are right now. Could be the case. I don't know. Buy items that fit your current system. This one is pretty self-explanatory. It is like, okay, because James Clear also bought some new charging things for his car, which lets him charge his phone and his car. And it is like, okay, buy things that fit in your current system, which means, okay, you're having a home with such plugs in your wall where you're charging your things. I don't actually know what they are called. They have a specific name, but I always kind of forget it. The thing is, buy yourself some chargers that actually have the exact same charging thing as you have in your fucking wall. Would make sense because it is fitting your current system. If you're buying yourself a new dress, buy one that is fitting with the shoes that you're having, so that you're not having to buy new shoes. And all the other things, new electronics that fit into your system, that you do not need some extra tools or whatever. Whatever it is, just try to let it fit into your kind of system. Set self-imposed limits. Live a carefully constrained life by creating limitations for you to operate within. Juliet Shaw provides a great example with this quote. Because I haven't understood this quote in the first place, as I was reading it alone actually, or on my own, I'm gonna ditch this for now, because I'm really trying to go through the whole thing, and it was really not that interesting, at least not for me, but I try to go through it afterwards. Buy one and give one. Each time you make a new purchase, give something away. Get a new TV, give your old one away rather than moving it to another room or sell it. Thing is, please really do not throw things away. Try to sell them. There's probably going to be so much money in the things you're just throwing away. Old games, glass things, some marks, whatever it is, you can totally sell them on eBay. It is pretty convenient, even though there is some work associated to it, and especially books as well. And there are also just some sites where you can sell your books without doing anything. You don't even have to be on fucking eBay. You also can go to these sites and sell them there. The next one is go 1 month without buying something new. Don't allow yourself to buy any new items for 1 month. Instead of buying a new lawnmower, rent one from a neighbor. Get your new t-shirt from the thrift store rather than the department store. The more we restrict ourselves, the more resourceful we become. Actually, really is the case. If you know you only have one bread for the month, you're gonna use that bread fucking wisely. You're not gonna throw away shit, you're not gonna waste any shit. You're gonna be really thoughtful about how you consume it and in which way, so that you're not throwing away anything. And the last one is let go of wanting things. Really self-explanatory again, but it's actually it is actually like the kind of example that I gave you a little bit earlier on, which was like, okay, you have a Honda, okay, the next car is going to be a BMW. The next car is going to be a Mercedes, or Mercedes actually. The next one's going to be a Ferrari. The next one's going to be a Bentley. The next one's going to be a Bugatti. Whatever it is, we always try to step up. And it is wanting things. We don't need those things. It is merely that we want to have them. Who the fuck needs a Ferrari? It looks great from a design perspective, of course, which is also, I think, one of the only reasons why I would buy designer clothes is actually that they are designed pretty well. Not because of the fucking brand, even though I might be falling into this trap relatively quickly because I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna buy these new clothes because they look great, because I'm just an arty guy, I like well-designed things, therefore I'm gonna buy these things. And in the end, it is really like, okay, in this whole thought process, it was also like, yeah, I know what people are gonna think about me when I'm wearing this shirt, rather than wearing the shirt from H&M or something. I know it is something subconscious, but people tell themselves some stories, which is interesting. But yeah. The last thing, the last paragraph in this one is how to overcome the consumption tendency. Our natural tendency is to consume more and not less. Given this tendency, I believe that taking active steps to reduce the flow of unquestioned consumption makes our lives better. Personally, my goal is not to reduce life to the fewest amount of things, but to fill it with the optimal amount of things. I hope this article will help you consider how to do the same. In Diderot's words, let my example teach you a lesson. Poverty has its freedoms, and opulence or opulence has its obstacles. And this is then actually the end of this article. There are actually some footnotes. I'm going to read them pretty quickly, and then I'm hopefully going to go through this little quote. So, in addition to her payment for the library, Catherine the Great asked Diderot to keep the books until she needed them, and offered to pay him a yearly salary to act as her librarian. This is amazing, like getting employed as well, Actually, a pretty nice deal to be fucking frank. It's really a nice deal. The second one is, Diderot's scarlet robe is frequently described as a gift from a friend. However, I couldn't find no original source claiming it was a gift, nor any mention of the friend who supplied the robe. If you happen to know any historians specialized in robe acquisitions, feel free to point them my way so we can clarify the mystery of the source of Diderot's famous scarlet robe. The third one, the quote from Denis Diderot in this article comes from his essay, Regrets for my old dressing gown. The fourth, some readers have pointed out that my purchases were smart and not unnecessary. This might be true, but it still is an example of the Diderot effect. Just to clarify, the Diderot effect simply means that when we obtain a new item, we tend to acquire additional ones. It is not a value judgment that only applies to unnecessary purchases, so even if my purchases were smart, I still feel victim to buying more things once I made an initial purchase. Of course, the Diderot effect often results in unnecessary purchases, which is why I focused on that angle in this article. The fifth one is The Overspent American, Why We Want What We Don't Need by Juliet Shaw, which is actually the quote that I'm now going to read. And the sixth and last footnote is, thanks to my friend Joshua Becker for originally sparking my interest in the Diderot effect by writing his own article on the topic. It's actually insane. Something that I've wondered is how he actually comes up with all these ideas and the facts and amazingly well stories, because I don't know stories. this is the thing. I would like to know stories because stories are amazing, We've always been learning from stories, I assume. Well, I actually don't assume. I know, Stories have been in culture, in humanity, in people's minds for quite a long time. At least I assume. I seem to know, or I feel that I'm knowing, but I actually don't know. I assume. I rather assume. So imagine the following. A community group in your town organizes parents to sign a pledge agreeing to spend no more than $50 on athletic shoes for their children. The staff at your child's daycare center requests a $75 limit on spending for birthday parties. The local school board rallies community support behind a switch to school uniforms. The PTA gets 80% of parents to agree to limit the children's television watching to no more than 1 hour per day. Do you wish someone in your community or at your children's school would take the lead in these or similar efforts? I think millions of American parents do. Television, shoes, clothes, birthday parties, athletic uniforms. These are areas where many parents feel pressured into allowing their children to consume at a level beyond what they think is best, want to spend or can comfortably afford. Yeah, this is more than about pressure, I guess, now. And I think it is actually the case, I don't know, I think it has, as far as I actually understand it, and if I understand it right, it is actually parents care about what other parents are thinking and other children are actually thinking. Therefore, buying their child those extra cool clothes, those extra cool shoes and or kicks or whatever that you tell them. Often parents are doing it because they think about what other parents are going to think about them or think about their children. But in the end, really about them in the end. It is really interesting. Something that Gary has been talking about. It's really interesting, something that he's spreading actually relatively often in the past few, weeks, I would say. But it's really interesting. Like a lot of parents do this, and it is really unnecessary. It really totally is. But yeah, this is going to be the end of the episode. I've managed to do it pretty well, I have to say. It's been a really, really, really amazing episode, at least for me. I hope it's also been an amazing episode for you. It's been a lot of fun. It really has been a lot of fun. But yeah, I wish you the best health, wellness, and also success. And I also hope that you're going to remind yourself on how you're going to be remembered, which means your legacy, because we totally have it in our control. But something is to be said, no matter how nice and generous and how good you are, there's still going to be someone that hates you or at least doesn't like you. It is what it is, I assume. It is how people are. But yeah, also think about your purpose, parents. Why do I just... Never mind. Think about your purpose. Why are you on this planet? What are you trying to change? And what is one of the things that really pisses you off? It might be giving you just the answer to your question or to your... to your question after or for your purpose. Yeah. English. Never mind. Thank you very much from the bottom of my fucking heart. It's just really amazing. People are watching my stuff. At least some stuff, the Elon Musk stuff is really prominent there. But I don't know. I'm not trying to on purpose only doing some Elon Musk stuff just because people are watching it, I assume. I don't know. Maybe this is just the wrong thinking there as well. But yeah. I see you the next time. Thank you very much. I love you. And please subscribe if you've liked it and like if you have liked it. I'll see you the next time. I hope at least. I really, really hope. Bye.